The atmosphere on The View that morning was electric, almost tense. Cameras were rolling, the studio lights glimmered, and the usual chatter between the hosts was underway. But there was an undercurrent of something far more explosive. Denise Welch, known for her sharp wit and outspoken opinions, had arrived ready for the day, seemingly calm but with a fire simmering beneath her composed exterior. It all started innocuously. The discussion began with a hot-button topic: celebrity behavior in politics. Joy Behar, never one to shy away from expressing her blunt opinions, launched into a critical commentary that touched a nerve. Her words, though intended as humor, carried a pointed edge that Denise couldn't ignore. Joy gestured animatedly, her voice rising slightly. "It's ridiculous how some celebrities think they can influence people just because they have a platform," she said, a smirk forming. "They don't even understand the issues." Denise tried to interject calmly, but the words stumbled out with more force than she anticipated. "With all due respect, Joy, that's a very narrow way to look at it. Celebrities have influence. Yes, but dismissing every effort as shallow completely ignores the complexity of public engagement." The studio fell into a brief silence. The cameras pivoted, capturing the tension crackling in the air. Behar raised an eyebrow. The classic, "I've heard it all before" expression plastered on her face. "Complexity? Honey, it's complexity only when you want it to be. Most people just talk to hear themselves talk." Denise's jaw tightened. She felt a flush of frustration, not just for herself, but for the principles she believed in: fair dialogue and mutual respect. The live audience could feel the temperature rising. Murmurs swept through the room as the exchange escalated. "It's not just about talking, Joy, it's about responsibility," Denise replied, her voice louder now. "People have platforms, yes, but they can choose to use them wisely or recklessly. And dismissing that? That's just lazy thinking." Joy laughed lightly, though there was a sharp edge to it. "Lazy thinking? Darling, you think everyone has to follow your moral compass? Don't be so serious." The tension hit its peak. Denise slammed her hand lightly on the desk, the subtle thump audible over the chatter. "I'm serious because this matters. We can't just brush aside the power we hold or the influence we wield." The live audience leaned forward, cameras capturing every flicker of expression, every tense pause. What started as a light discussion had transformed into a heated clash of principles, philosophies, and personalities. The producers behind the glass exchanged worried glances. They knew this was going to be a moment the viewers wouldn't forget. Denise Welch, a veteran of television and theater, knew the art of maintaining poise, but the fire in her eyes betrayed her restraint. This wasn't personal. It was a stand for conviction. Joy Behar, with her trademark sarcasm and sharp humor, wasn't backing down either. The stage was set for a confrontation that would dominate headlines and social media feeds in hours. By the end of the segment, the tension hadn't diminished. Denise sat back, breathing steadily but visibly charged with emotion. She had erupted, yes, but it was a controlled explosion, one fueled by years of experience, principles, and a desire to be heard. The moment the cameras cut to a commercial, the atmosphere backstage was chaotic. Producers rushed around, microphones and earpieces in hand, while crew members whispered speculations about what had just unfolded on live television. Denise Welch sat in a quiet corner, removing her earpiece, letting the adrenaline ebb slightly. "I can't believe she said that on live TV," Denise muttered to herself, recalling the sharp sarcasm Joy had thrown her way. It wasn't anger alone. It was incredulity that such a dismissive attitude could be so brazenly delivered. Meanwhile, Joy Behar was being interviewed by one of the producers, her expression a mix of amusement and mild irritation. "It's television," she said lightly, waving a hand. "These debates get fiery. That's what keeps people watching, right?" But the media had already descended. Reporters, social media users, and gossip bloggers were dissecting the confrontation within minutes. Tweets exploded. "Denise Welch loses it on The View." "Joy Behar and Denise clash over celebrity politics. Who's right?" Headlines splashed across digital platforms, ensuring that the feud would trend nationally. Producers approached Denise, attempting to calm her nerves. "You need to step out for interviews," one whispered. "They want your side of the story." Denise sighed but nodded. She knew she had to handle it with tact, even though part of her wanted to respond in the raw, unfiltered way she had on live TV. Interviews began pouring in. Journalists asking her to explain what went wrong, whether she regretted her outburst, or if this signaled a permanent rift with Behar. "I'm not angry at anyone personally," Denise explained calmly, despite her racing heart. "I simply wanted to express the importance of responsibility in how public figures engage with the world. That's all. It escalated because emotions were involved, but it wasn't personal." Back in the green room, Joy watched the clips circulating online. She smiled wryly, knowing the show had delivered exactly what it promised: raw, unfiltered television. Both women understood the power of narrative. They were stars who could command attention simply by being themselves, for better or worse. Hours later, the feud had become the top trending topic. Clips of the confrontation were shared, commented on, and remixed. Fans chose sides, celebrities weighed in with tweets, and opinion blogs ran extensive analyses of the debate's implications. Denise, for her part, maintained her composure, realizing that the eruption on live TV had amplified a larger conversation she cared about deeply. By the end of the day, Denise Welch's name was everywhere. The clash wasn't just a viral moment, it had become a cultural talking point. People debated her points, her passion, and her willingness to stand firm in the face of humor that crossed her line. The next morning, Denise Welch sat in her dressing room, replaying the previous day's events in her mind. She could still feel the adrenaline from the clash, the energy of the live audience, and the weight of every word she had spoken. The eruption had been intense, but as she reflected, she realized it was a turning point, not just for her, but for the show itself. Her phone buzzed with messages from colleagues and friends. Some congratulated her for speaking her truth. Others warned about public perception. Denise smiled, recognizing that in television, perception often overshadowed intent. But she didn't regret a single word. Standing up for principles was never easy, especially in a room full of cameras, scripts, and millions of viewers. Producers invited her for a sit-down to discuss how to address the media storm. "Denise, your points resonated," one said. "You sparked a conversation people weren't ready to have but needed to hear." She nodded. "That's all I wanted," she said. "Not to attack, not to dominate, but to remind people that what we say matters, especially on national television. Humor has its place, but dismissing responsibility has consequences." Joy Behar, in a rare moment of reflection, sent a private message to Denise later that day. "You were fiery," it read. "I respect that you spoke your mind. Let's keep the debates lively, but maybe a little less slamming tables next time." Denise laughed quietly, appreciating the humor and acknowledgement. By the evening, both women appeared on social media, sharing a light-hearted post-show photo. The public could see the contrast. The heat of live debate had passed, replaced by mutual respect and professionalism. Fans were relieved to witness reconciliation, but they also understood why the clash had happened: the passion and integrity of two strong personalities refusing to compromise on their principles. The incident became more than just a viral moment. Denise Welch's eruption symbolized the importance of standing up for one's beliefs, even under intense scrutiny. It reminded viewers that television, while entertaining, was also a platform for meaningful dialogue. Weeks later, in interviews and podcasts, Denise often reflected on the event. "It wasn't just a clash," she said. "It was a conversation we all needed. Humor is powerful, but responsibility is more powerful. That's what I hope people remember." Ultimately, the showdown on The View was remembered not for the drama alone, but for the courage to speak truth in the public eye. Denise Welch had erupted, yes, but she had done so with purpose, leaving a lasting impression on viewers, colleagues, and the culture at large.